Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Tuesday Night Tic Talk with the Jungle Gyms podcast. I've got myself, McGinty, Anthony, and I have the two Jameses, which we've established. We're going to have Tattoo James and we're going to have just
James,
James.
James.
James. JJ, not sure how that falls. Guys, wee bit of a technical issue there. I hope we are actually live and some chat comments come in. So if you can hear us, let us know that we're on the old YouTubes. But whilst we settle into place, we'll go with Tattoo James first. How you been? How's your week been?
Well, it was a decent Thursday night, and you know, we didn't lose on Sunday. It wasn't ideal, but apart from that, it's been quite good. How's everybody else?
Not too bad outside. I do want to ask after last week, how do you feel about doing podcasts and having your face on the screen? Did you
It,
get your nerves out the way? You okay with it?
I felt really, and I didn't share it with my boss until like the the Thursday or the Friday. I didn't share it with my boss. I haven't watched it again because I hate my voice, but other people have seen it and didn't say I was a dick. So, well,
No, to your face at least.
nah, not in my face, or no more than normal. So it was. You've got to think that's a bonus.
Good stuff. And you're happy, obviously, then to come back onto us for your second week going.
I'm happy to be here as long as you want me. I enjoy talking about Celtic. You can't have
Uh,
enough Celtic hobbies.
we'll see if you show up for week three or not. I'll see how that delete button goes. That's great to have you back, James. It is. Younger James, grey hoodie James, James 1, James 2, whatever you want to call yourself. How you doing, my man? How's your
Aye,
week
all
been?
right, all right. Aye, a wee bit more kind of. I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about Sunday. Thursday was obviously positive. We showed a bit of fight and determination. Sunday, I'm probably a wee bit more doom and gloom about. And moving on for the rest of the season as well. But I think that just tends to be my default position with Celtic, especially during transfer windows. So, aye, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you know more than anybody else, probably, James. I'm a miserable bastard when it comes to transfer windows, especially in anything that the club does above the football department level. And this window really is just running the arse out of it completely. I'm sure there's reasons for why this window looks the exact same as every other failed miserable window the last 15 years, minus one or two. But this one just feels exceedingly shite. But we'll touch on that more later on. I will be honest with the chat. I believe we are live. I've not watched the game from Sunday. I have watched the goals and the highlights, and it's not unlike me to miss a game. But I had to do a shift and was working. And I'll be honest, at the time, I was thankful to be working. Often, usually, you work over a match day. You're thinking, "Oh, desperate to watch the replay, desperate to see how the games went." The season just dragged on for me this year that I just really wasn't that fussed about missing that game. And by all accounts, I didn't miss much. It was a 2-each draw. We did take the lead twice, uh, but there's not much I can say, obviously, with not seeing it. So, James, to my side, I'll let you go first. Overall, without dissecting it massively, how did you find Sunday's game?
Uh, Overall, I'd probably say bitterly disappointing, all things considered. Going into the game, there was a lot of obviously talk about Hearts missing key players, injuries, and suspensions. Um, Obviously, we had a bit of a feel good factor with Neil coming back, then managing to get a point on Thursday night. And I think there was probably a lot of people that fancied us to go there and get a win. And for me, it was a must win game. Um, which we didn't win, so obviously that's disappointing. But then when you factor in obviously the what happened during the game and how poor we did perform, and then obviously getting a man sent off, it's one of the ones where it's probably not the worst point in the world, but I just feel that again, if we had some business done, then it really could have been. It could have been all three. When you look at even the subs that we made, it was totally uninspiring. And just a bit of a missed opportunity. And it highlights, if we didn't already know, what really needs to be done in the next few days.
So I've said all window, especially at the start, that this game was probably the big game of the month, the big game of this second half of the season, however you want to look at it, and that I reckon all our winter signings had to be made probably 2 weeks ago in preparation for that game. They needed a solid week to 2 weeks of training with each other, getting to know each other, playing a game or two together before going into the Hearts game to give themselves a chance. We only made 2 signings so far. Obviously, we've all seen Julian Araujo. He looks steady enough. Without overly impressing, he doesn't look like he's going to be a flop. He looks like he'd be okay. How did you find the new striker though, James Thomas Van Gar? If I say his name wrong,
He does really well for the goal. Really well for the goal. He shows his pace. Obviously, he's covered a fair bit of distance as well and lays it in a plate for Yang. If I'm being honest, if he didn't do that, I think I would have been pretty disappointed, to be honest with you, because I think he gave away a lot of it was kind of throughout the full team, but he was guilty of it as well. Gave away a few silly fibbles where he's just looking at the Hearts player and instead of the ball. What I found strange as well is with Martin O'Neill coming out prior to the game telling us that he wasn't a target man, but then we seem to play him exclusively as a target man and we just lumped high balls up to him. So if that's not his game, I suppose that's not entirely his fault. It's a criticism I've had of Brendan Rodgers as well. I think he done similar with Adam Ida. We just tried to play him as a target man towards the end of his time here and it didn't work. But no, he done really well for the goal. So I'm happy enough with that, and I think there was enough there to see some sort of hope in him for what's to come, really.
and Tattoo James, we'll bring it to you then. Overall for the game, how did you feel, and more so, especially the new striker? What was your take on him as well?
So, like James, I said that it was a must-win game. I know Martin O'Neill came out and said that it was a must-not-lose game, but I felt it was a must-win game. Although now I'm backtracking and I've got all different scenarios that I'm happily spouting now just to calm myself. I thought the new striker, you can see it. See in the first game, you could see Albion Ajeti was a shrinker. It wasn't going to work for him. This guy, he looks like he's got something. As you say, James, for the goal, he worked really hard. It was a cracking run. He used his pace, he used his strength, and it was a really intelligent ball. You actually see him when he's just past an 18-yard line. You see him taking a look up to see who's there. So it wasn't just a hit and hope. He knew exactly what he was doing. So to me, that was a really good goal. I think that my things that's make me feel a wee bit better. That team played for 90 minutes away in Bologna, an hour 8 with 10 men, and Hearts couldn't beat us. In fact, I'd say if the sending off doesn't happen, they don't equalise. And maybe I'm just looking at the world through green glasses and thinking that it's okay. We need signings in. We definitely need signings in. There's a couple of rumours today: SK Brand midfielder and Bodo Glimt striker. If we can get they two over the line, then you've got to say that the last bit of the season will look a lot better. And what you've also got to remember is we've got the easier running of the three sides. We've got the easier running of the three sides.
I'll be honest, I've not even looked at that part of it because normally you would try and see, right, can we go over the next 3, 4, 5 games? Can we get that run? I've just been so disheartened by the whole fucking thing, James, that it's almost like I don't want to look forward. But I get what you're saying. If you go back a moment or two with kind of permutations that you start going through your head.
Aye.
It's like, right, if we get this player in, that player in, then we can win that game.
Mhm.
How does it look different if we get by Utrecht and we get the buzz about being in the next round of Europa League? How does it look? How does the overall feel develop? It's similar even in game. If you know that you're getting beat 2-0 and it's the 75th minute, you're like, right, if we score one before the 80th, 10 minutes to get the equaliser, then it gets to the 83rd minute, you're like, right, score one before the 85th, or we might get one in injury time just to equal. And you keep just trying to permutate it. I'm just done in with it. I can't bring myself to look that far ahead, which is really, really bad of me.
I think
James, yeah.
I think that's why I felt it was a must-win game, because we've now played 5 games against the 2 teams above us, and we've no won one of them. With Hearts
100%.
have took 7 points off us, and Rangers have took 4 points off us. So it doesn't look great in that sense, and also it now means that, and look, I think Hearts will drop points. I'm not saying they're going to win every game to the end of the season, but it now puts us in a position where there is a possibility that we win every game that's left of the season and we still don't win the league. And I'm not saying for a second I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think we'll win every game, and I do think Hearts will drop points. But you're now at the stage where you're needing favours, and as much as it is only 6 points and it is achievable and everything like that, I think that's putting a lot of faith in getting some business done for. Well, I say some business, getting the business that needs to be done for the end of the transfer window, which should have already been done for this game. And that's where my kind of confidence in it starts to wane. Don't get me wrong. At full time, I was raging. I found it kind of interesting at full time because there was people kind of no celebrating a draw, but like happy enough with a draw. Head went into it with the mindset of a point would be a decent point.
No.
But I was raging at full time. I think I had wrote everything off. I wrote off the next fucking 3 or 4 seasons, I think, come full time. But now that I've kind of sat and looked at it, like say the next kind of 5 fixtures, especially, we've kind of got these easier 5 games.
Aye.
I think Pittodrie away is definitely the hardest of the 5. But even saying that, we're going to need players. We're going to need to get business done. So I think the last time I was on a few weeks ago, I'd said whoever basically wins the transfer market will win the league. I still maintain that. I still think that is the case. But based on the business that all the clubs have done so far, I would say Celtic are third, which is obviously where they're in the league. So we are banking on people that we really shouldn't be banking on to do business that should have been done by now.
I
It
totally
really
agree.
should. Yeah, it really should have. Yeah, go ahead, James.
Sorry, what I was going to say is the only disagreement I've got with you, James, is I think that is part of my job. A big part of my job is data analysis, and I know I don't sound very clever, but it's, part of it is, and we see if we. I feel that I draw at Ibrox and I win at Celtic Park, and obviously you've got to win on the majority of your other games as well. But I think we do that, and that takes us 3 above Rangers, and I think Rangers will beat Rangers will scud Hearts in the next time Rangers play Hearts. So that brings Hearts back in, and if we just keep up with Rangers, that means a draw at Ibrox, and then we're only 1 point behind them, and then beat them at Celtic Park. There you go. How easy is that?
Aye.
You're doing this permutation thing again, James.
Again, I can't help. I mean, it is me. But that's how I broke it down. Maybe so I could sleep on Sunday night, because like you, I was raging at the end of it. I think something like the pass completion rates for both sides was like in the low 60%, and that's crazy. That's how bad that game was. It was just stop start, and a lot of that was down to McLean and how he handled the game. Every time a Hearts player went down, he was getting a free kick, and it was always in these. And I know some of Yang was really guilty for it. It's always in Grin, stupid getting in the road, stupid fouls in that area where for years now we've been really weak. Now a deep cross coming in, we've been really weak in that position. How many goals have we conceded since the COVID season? A deep cross coming in across into the penalty area and no defending it. It's shocking that 4 or 5 years we're still falling for the same goal.
Yeah, which brings us to the fabled question, James. Set piece coaches. How many do you want? About 30, 25 would be all right for you?
Well, if we're operating off about 15 goalie coaches in your head, I'd say we probably need about 30 set piece coaches in. But no, but look, I know as much as we laugh and joke about it, like, that it's just small things like that would make a difference to us. Like the fact that we don't have one, and you only need to look across at Ibrox to see the difference that it does make, and it's something so simple that is a modern thing in football that we just don't have and we have never had, amongst so many other things. But it's just wee things like that will make a difference. That when you go through the club and you add them up, that's what's
Loads,
dragging us back. That's what's holding us back.
loads. There's so many small things like your famous one that you love to go on about, James. You know the lights of the toilets. A bit of paint on the stairs would be nice, and the
Hot,
railings just
hot
push the
water.
place up. Hot water would be good. These are all little small things, but see collectively, just that as a subject matter makes the stadium look a bit piss poor. The banners, they look good when they're nice and they're up and they're clean and they're pulled tight. But see when they fall down and you take about a year to fix them again, it looks fucking shit. It's little things like that again. It's all right building the Celtic way, but as soon as you look to the side there, it's uneven rubble ground behind the superstores, shit like that. It's like stop half arsing it, do the fucking job properly. But that is just basic maintenance of the stadium and the foot area of the stands. You can do the same throughout almost every aspect of the club, from half arsing a pathways manager that doesn't actually know, and this is no slight on Sean Maloney or Darren O'Dea before him, but do we even know what that fucking job actually is meant to be? Is it just a glorified loan manager? Are they actively pushing youth talent into the first team as a guided pathway, or getting them loans at the age of 16, 17, 18, with the view that they come into the first team at 19? I'm off on tangents, but again, it's half-assed efforts there. Coaches is half-assed. Go back to John Kennedy as a coach. How many years did we all sit here and say, how can you have a defensive coach and yet defensively we're fucking shite? And it took, was it Neil Lennon that came out and says, oh, by the way, he's not actually a defensive coach, he's just a general coach. And then everybody realised, hold up a minute, we only have three fucking coaches. One of them was the manager, and nobody's specialised. But if you go to any other club who wants to be taken seriously at a top level, they've got defensive coaches, they've got set piece coaches, they've got coaches just for the wingers. We had that for a moment with Damien Duff, and we actually looked good for it. They've got coaches coming out the fucking ears. Benfica have about 13 or so goalkeeper coaches. You know, I don't expect us to have 50 coaches. It's obscene. I get that. But I also do expect us to have more than the manager plus two others. I'd expect, the first team to have somewhere close to double figures, surely. Where you can split the whole thing up and say, right, individual units get their own coach and specialities. The recruitment side of it, scouts, we half-assed that. Is it now looking like Paul Tisdale was a one-man band? Because as soon as he left, the whole thing got ripped up apparently. Was he the only guy doing that job? Yet he was on holiday for 2 weeks before the window opened. Such an important. Again, I diverge. I'm going way beyond the point of the game of the weekend, obviously, but it's the half-assed nature of this club really fucking pisses me off. You're itching to get in there, Tattoo James. I think I can see you go for it.
It wasn't that he took Paul Tisdale, so as I said last week, there's a guy on our bus that is relatively in the know. He knows somebody at Celtic Park, and Paul Tisdale basically went away with all his scouting records. So that's what happened, and that's why Martin O'Neill had to basically start from scratch again, because he took everything that he had.
Are we never going to learn though?
No, listen, yeah, I totally agree with you. Right? When I say that, there's no part of me saying, yeah, because we're ran like an absolutely well-oiled machine. We're really not. We are ran like Mrs. Miggins' pie shop. this podcast using ChatGPT is ran. Sorry, using WhatsApp is ran better than Celtic Football Club.
I almost feel insulted, but at the same time, I agree. It is. I mean, the
Honestly,
organisation between
yes,
three guys to get this on. Yes, we had technical issues. We were half an hour late coming on, but hey, we got it done on the same day. If
yes.
this was Celtic and Michael Nicholson, this would probably be next week. We would have just canned it.
And McGinty will learn from his mistakes.
Aye, exactly.
Aye,
You know,
I'll be under review.
exactly. A WhatsApp group with a ragtag bunch of Fenians is run better than Celtic Football Club. That's. I mean, without going into details, see some of the stuff for the Celtic for the ticket office. It would make you. Honestly, it would. I've not even got words. And it's not just the ticket office. It's the catering, and it's the Celtic shop, and it's everything about us is so small time. It's like a bowling club.
But that is another part of it as well. Look, a club the size of Celtic, with the amount of season ticket holders and the amount of travelling support, to have one support liaison officer is mental. It would be unheard of anywhere else in Europe.
But again, this is what I keep saying in my wee rant. Everything is half-assed. Everything is almost like I say this on the forums and stuff as well. At one point, we had a head of recruitment, we had a head of scouting department, we had a head coach, head manager. We had so many heads of departments, but they were heads of nobody. Like if you say you've got a head of scouting, a chief scout, for lack of a better term, but if you've got a head of scouting, which I think that Jay Lefebvre became that at one point after the Mark Laurel situation before Tisdale reinvented the fucking terminology for it. If you've got that head of scout, chief scout, I expect the club to have employed 8 scouts below him, that he's the head of 8 scouts. It turns out he was the only fucking scout, so he's the head of the fucking self. And that's what Tisdale's done. And when I say to you, James, I hope you didn't take it as a kind of jibe, are we ever going to learn? It was more in the sense that this has happened 2 or 3 times to us. There's a time, 2012-ish, 2011, your Dundee United boy Peter Houston came in as a scout, and he was impressed with the data and the research and the books that we had. I think it was Park that was the chief scout at the time. Just the sheer volume of scouting reports and information that we had. He was overly impressed, and this was before modern scouting took off as we know it today. We've lost all that. It's all gone somehow. We just let Park leave, and we just never built on it. We just let it fucking fall to the wayside. Then later on, obviously, Rogers comes in. Rogers leaves. Rogers leaves with all the backroom staff, which was technically his, which we get. And we all sat on podcasts, on message boards. You would have sat on your buses as well. And we all said, the club needs to do something so that that doesn't happen again. So that the manager leaves, he doesn't take all the coaches away. We need to, insulate the club and protect the club in a bigger way. Have we just done the same thing again with Tisdale? He's just took the huff and walked away. He says, I'm taking my ball with me. Did nobody think to say, all those scout reports that you had, because, surely you have some scouts below you, they would have that information as well. Did we really let Tisdale be a one-man consultancy lead the real line and didn't back ourselves up? We didn't. It's almost like if you're a big film studio and you're making the next Avengers film, you have the guy writing it, and the guy takes a huff and says, I quit, and you let him walk away with the script for the new Avengers film. You wouldn't do that, because the big studio would have says, that script's ours, you work for us, that's our property. Why we let Tisdale run a scouting network himself, separate to the club, that he can walk away with it all? That's mental to me.
100%. It's mind blowing. It's as if it's like we just don't learn, and if Rangers had been in the position we're in, we would never have come back. I know it's took them a long time, and I don't know if Danny Rowe's the answer for them. I don't know. I don't see them enough. But I think that they would have been all over us and made sure that we never come back.
They 100% would. Before we diverge too far into that, there's one thing from the game that I do want to bring up, and it is the trusty red card. I think it's something that we should discuss a little bit on the podcast, more so today because obviously we made the appeal yesterday and it came back that it's been rejected. As I said, I didn't get to watch the game. I have seen the goals and the red card incident back. I'm struggling to see the foul, let alone the red card aspect of it. But I can safely assume there was some sort of minimal contact as the players are running in the direction that they are. What I'm going to bring up is two things. One is, I think James mentioned earlier off camera as well, the Dermot Gallagher for the English FA. He made good points about it, and then also the fact of what VAR should do. So for me, what would you call it? Dog, so clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Yep.
Was that a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity? To me, I'm going to run through that open to you both. No, it wasn't. He was running away from a goal. He was not in control of the ball. He hadn't touched the ball at that point. I don't think it's a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. That in itself means it shouldn't be a red card, and I think the yellow was probably correct at the time. VAR, if I do have at hand their rules about them getting involved in it, is only four things that they get involved in: goals or no goals, as it would be, penalty decisions, direct red cards, where the reviews of serious foul play, violent conduct, or biting, spitting. Not about yellow cards getting upgraded because of thingies. And the final one is mistaken identity. So if the ref does brandish a red card to the wrong player, we can correct that. For me, the second part of it is, was it a clear and obvious error that VAR had to get involved to basically re-referee the game? At which point, if it was clear and obvious, why was the referee allowed to then go back and re-ref himself? And it wasn't just a simple case of VAR saying, nope, that was a clear red card. You missed that. That was violent play or whatever it is. Straight up red card, no questions asked. For me, two things there. It should never have been a red card for me, and I'm actually surprised that the appeal did not go through. Young James, to my side, I'll let you agree, disagree. How did you view the whole incident and the appeal process?
I must admit, at the time, I thought it was a red card when I seen it live. Then when you see it back, the fact that he's gave a yellow card, it has to stay as a yellow card. You can't go and overturn it to a red. It's the angle behind the goal. I think I'd actually says to you at the time, I thought it was a red card, but having seen it again, I didn't quite appreciate just how far out he was and how much work there would have still had to. He still would have had to have done to get a shot away. So I think it's definitely it's a booting. It's no red card. That said, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be screaming for a red card. Don't get me wrong, but nah, I think he's too far out. I know the ball's going away for goal, but there is still a lot of pace on the ball. I think he's definitely going to get there first. But you've either got Dane Murray getting to him, or you've got Scales coming in for the side going to get to him. So once he gives the yellow card, I don't think he can be sent to VAR because, like you say, it's not a clear and obvious error. It's not an obvious goal scoring opportunity. The Dermot Gallagher, as you're saying, he hit the nail on the head. It's not a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. It's a potential goal scoring opportunity, and you can't get a straight red card for a potential goal scoring opportunity. So that's a yellow card all day long.
Exactly that, James. The potential goal scoring opportunity. It wasn't obvious. He wasn't in control of the ball. He hadn't touched the ball yet. He was running away from it. Yada yada yada. For me, that was definitely a kind of talk point to it. Tattoo, James, your take on the overall incident?
I totally agree, except for the part when as soon as it happened, I said to my son, "That's a red card." I just had that I just couldn't. Then when you watch it again, nah, that's never a red card. It's never a red. It's never a red. See, when you look at it, not only is he's never in control of it, he's running towards goal and the ball is going that way. He'd need to have changed direction. No disrespect to the boy, but he's got a first touch He's got a first touch like me. He's not a good football player. He's no Messi. He's no controlling that before. It's just it was a joke. McLean probably got it right, but I thought he had an absolutely shocking game. I thought McLean had a shocking game. He gave everything to Hearts. Every time a Hearts player fell, he gave a foul to Hearts. And how it was nail overturned is baffling. Celtic's statement about it tonight, that they were going to look at it. Maybe we should be more like Rangers and come out and say we're wanting to hear audios and we're wanting to see this and we're wanting to see that and we're wanting to get definitive proof, because Steve McLean's brother played for Rangers. John Beaton's a renowned Rangers supporter. John Beaton sent off the last Celtic player, Yang, at Tynecastle, and which was never a red card. It baffled me. It honestly baffled me, Anthony.
It does indeed.
See part of it, genuinely, I think that part of it is today with this Sky Sports VAR review show, because every time there's a high profile incident, it's almost always wrong, like the wrong decision that they come to, and you're having to haul out Willie Collum once a month to go, he's made a cunt of that again, hasn't he? But there's never any repercussions for it. They'll get a game the next week. There'll be a Celtic game in a couple of weeks. There'll be a Rangers game in a couple of weeks. They'll get a cup final. They'll get a semi-final. It's the same rota of refs that they never get demoted or relegated to the Championship or League One or whatever. And it was like and I'm not going to shout conspiracy and all that, but the Motherwell penalty, was it Motherwell win it? The penalty at Ibrox that they never got. And it's as clear a penalty as you see.
100%.
Then you had Willie Collum coming out on that VAR thing saying it's not a penalty, and you're like, Willie, we've got eyes, we can see it. You can hear the VAR obviously on that show. I think that is part of it when it comes to these things. I think that they're having to, like, they can't be seen to look as incompetent as they are in getting so many big decisions wrong, because they're going on Sky Sports News once a month and it's essentially their gaffer that's gone, aye, that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong. And it's literally every single big decision that they're getting wrong, and it's happening all the time.
100%.
What I mentioned to James off camera as well, and I'll make this point on camera just to see the reaction to it. And it is a bit flippant, it is a bit extreme. But if we talk about potential goal scoring opportunities or obvious goal scoring opportunities, let's look at the Scotland goal. What's his name? Kenny McLean. He scores from the halfway line with a fucking long ball. Nobody in their right mind gets fouled at the halfway line, and you turn around and say, that was a goal scoring opportunity, so it must be a red card. You can score from the halfway line, is my point. It can happen, but it's only potential. It's a maybe's eyes if you hit the ball lucky or you get on the end of it properly. To say that was a goal-scoring opportunity at the weekend for me would mean that any foul happening at the halfway line, as we have here, Alan Morrison at the Celtics by number says there's an 8% chance of a goal. I reckon there's probably an 8% chance of a goal quite often if you just say, right, you take a punt from 50 yards out, you take a punt from 60 yards out. I expect professional footballers to hit the target from 40 yards out more than 8% of the time, because they're professional footballers. So at that point, does every foul become a red card? Because potentially a goal scoring opportunity. But that's my point overall. Potentially is what we've got this from. It wasn't clear and obvious. It wasn't an obvious goal scoring opportunity.
If that was Maeda running through like that and the exact same thing happened,
the ball would have been in the car park.
It would have been, but we know the car that would have happened, but it wouldn't have been a red card, because it would, and Colin would have said in the VAR review, because it wasn't a goal, it wasn't an obvious goal scoring opportunity. That was what he said in the VAR review.
And you can only take it from the moment that happens there, running away from goal, not touch the ball, not got it under control, it's not an obvious goal scoring opportunity, because as much as that guy probably did have the pace of Trusty, he still needs to take the touch and turn.
Mhm.
And as good as his first touch may be or may not be, as you alluded to, James, or as bad as the hypothetical Maeda touch would be, you can't justify it because traditionally he's got a shite touch. Traditionally he skies him. What if he didn't that time? It's all hypotheticals, what ifs. You have to take it just in the moment. Does it hit certain criteria? Is he through and goal? Nope. Is he going in the direction of goal? Nope. Has he got control of the ball? Nope. Is it clear and obviously a goal scoring opportunity? No, it wasn't. I am genuinely surprised that VAR didn't overrule it. Sorry, the appeal process didn't overrule it. I'm genuinely surprised by that.
I think he's just backing. I think it's just so that they're not saying they've met, exactly what James says, it's so they're not saying they've messed something up again. And Willie Collum will come out in his rear review with Gordon Duncan, who will never ask a follow-up question. Willie Collum will say something about how he was the last man, blah blah blah. The fact, regardless of the fact that Dane Murray's coming in for the right and Scales is coming in for the left, and he's got to run towards Scales to pick up the ball. Listen, Colm will make some excuse up because he's backing his man. That's what he's doing. He's backing his man. It's not about real. It's not about honesty. It's about covering your arse.
See the other thing that does my nut in with that, and this isn't a Celtic thing. This is just more than Willie Collum at this point. But see on that VAR show where it'll be a penalty decision, and he'll say we could support a penalty here, but equally we could support not awarding a penalty. And you're like, well, it can't be both, can it? It's one or the other. So it's up to the referee to get that right. It can't possibly be both. So you're going to need to form an opinion on whether it is or whether it isn't. It's just such a cop-out, such a nothing answer. It's when the folks say it's a high-end yellow card, as if that's a thing. That doesn't mean anything. It's just something that folks say.
But that's the thing. It has to then be clear and obvious an error, or clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity, clear and obvious penalty award. It has to be clear and obvious for VAR to get involved to change the on-field decision. If the on-field decision, this used to be a thing a couple of years back, where did the referee see that challenge? Aye, he dealt with it at the time. He awarded a yellow card, or he awarded just a free kick. He's seen it. So it can't be that he's missed it and it's clear and obvious error. He's seen it. He's made a call on it. That's it. Let him have the call. Unless he's properly missed, a proper elbow. He's probably missed whatever it is that's happened elsewhere. He's not. He's seen it. He's refereed it. Is his call reasonably justified in the moment? Yes, it is. Leave it. That's it. Can he keep re-refereeing the games? And this is, again, not just even for this one moment here. Overall, goes for all the games in Scottish football. It goes for even games down south at times as well.
Our games do get re-refereed, but I'm a massive believer in this isn't a tinfoil hat thing, right? That we get penalties and decisions from VAR. Other teams in Scotland get decisions from the referee, and it means that it's got to be a clear and obvious error if it's cancelled, and ours has got to be a clear and obvious error to get it. I don't know how many decisions that you look at and you say that was a penalty, that was a this, that, and we've not got it. Yet VAR say, yeah, VAR's checking it, yes, it was a penalty. We've got it. Whereas other teams get the decision by the referee, and then it's like, well, it wasn't enough of a mistake for them to no give it, so they're going to give it. And it's just another layer of this, the South Lanarkshire refereeing fraternity.
A podcast discussion, I'm sure we'll have another time about that institution, shall we call it. We'll move on from there. We are at the 40-minute mark. I'm aware of this not dragging the arse out of it Gavin style to 2 hours. So we'll move on a little bit. There is only really 2 more points I want to cover, but I know that they're going to be nice big topics, so by all means do not limit yourselves in the responses. But let's look at transfer scenes, how we are in the final week, the final few days of the January transfer window, and it's heating up. It's getting hot and fiery. I like to call this now the Dolberg phase of a transfer window, where we get to the last few days and all of a sudden some names of interest start to spring up.
But I thought you were
And
going to say we're linked with a Danish striker.
oh no, just how many Caspers can you get in the building at one time? No, it's just this time of the window, and it happens quite often. The Dolberg one is obviously the most recent in the summer window. But you get to that last 3, 4, 5 days, and all of a sudden you get linked with a couple of players that you actually think that's what we should be linked with. And then a couple of days go by, and all of a sudden they sign a new deal with their current club. They go to Ajax, they go to somewhere else, and all of a sudden it's the "we tried" mantra. So as it stands just now, I've not got an extensive list. I lose track of where all these players are in the rumour mill. Most of them are probably not going to happen anyway. But names that we've got this morning today is that Felix Horn Maya, the midfielder, and Casper Hock, or Hoy, however you want to say his name, along with the usual of what's his name, the Motherwell boy, Maswanisi.
Ashwin.
I still want to hold on to your Croatian Canadian boy, the midfielder Sigur. I think his name came back up in the last few days, trying to link him with Rangers as well. I'd be bitterly disappointed if he actually went there because he actually looks like the exact kind of midfielder that we do need. From these guys, Tattoo James, anybody that's taking your fancy in the last couple of days that's kind of came out of the woodwork that you think might be a goer?
I'll take all of them, plus Aurelio for Borussia Mönchengladbach, please.
Fair,
just,
fair.
I think that the Hoy, Hawk, I don't know how to pronounce it either, apologies. He would be amazing, but apparently Norwich are interested in him as well, and their strikers getting sold for 15 to 20 million. So if they come in for him, then there's unfortunately, it looks like that's where he'll go. I think Myra is a Fabran is he looks really good and dynamic, which is this is really stupid, right? I like him grin, but all he does is score goals. See if he's not scoring a goal, then he actually brings nothing to the. It's pronounced ho, right? So but Grin, if he's not scoring goals, he does nothing. He's got no dynamism. He's got no drive. He doesn't track back. And Hitate's kind of just given up. He's no like it's as if he's not interested anymore. So I think we need to get in. I think if you get the boy Ho, I think that means that the new striker will play wide on the right, because I think that was where he played. Martin O'Neill spoke about that as well, how the boy liked to cut in for the right. So that would maybe be something I would like. Maswinisi, just give me them all. Then we might win the league.
I mean, if we can take Ho and your Motherwell boy Maswanisi, plus your big Tam Van Kara, that's three strikers. Okay, they can go out right as well. So I think I'd happily get rid of the rest of the strikers that we have. I know Shin Yamada's away out on loan today. And I mean, no disrespect to Kenny at all, but I would happily let him go out on loan, kickstart his career. I don't think he's going to cut it at Celtic. But I'd hate to. He's a good, honest worker, but I'd hate to see him waste the next 3 years or whatever his contract is and go nowhere when he could do so much better.
He looks every inch a League Island player.
Yeah, he does. No offense to him, but yeah, he does.
None at all.
But I can't see us signing both these guys though. Is going to be my point. Ho and Maswinishi. It's one or the other, especially after we just signed Big Tam.
Don't break my heart.
Younger James, Gray, top James, Attic Loft Boy James, whatever you want to go by. Of those two strikers, which one would you go for if you know anything about them?
I thought Mashwini was Moody a winger. I thought he played
that.
I think he can play as striker as well, but I think more often than not he does play off the wing.
You think there's a chance we could go for both then? I mean, at Celtic we're not going to, but
almost certainly not. Not unless we can get him on a 6-month loan, or fucking Bodo Glimt decide they'll take ginger bottles for him. But no, I don't. And look, I used to like transfer windows. You used to like going on Twitter and seeing the rumours and all that, but When I seen that earlier, it was Bodo Glimt and the chat was 6 million. I'm like, oh, he's not going to come here, is he? He's just scored 2 against Man City in the Champions League. Why is he going to come to a team that's sitting third in Scotland? And do you know what I mean? All that stuff that plays into it, that don't spend money, that's in dire straits. All the usual kind of happy stuff that we think about. But no, I'd definitely take him. I think we need him. It's getting to that stage of the transfer window that we start after transfer window saying we need 412 players, and then time progresses, and come the end of it, you convince yourself if we take 2 and get everybody that's injured back and return into fitness, then we could make a go at it. You start kind of...
And then beg that we do the summer window early and then go through the whole cycle again.
Exactly. Yeah. You get through your stages of grief, because I think Martin O'Neill's actually on record as saying he wanted 6. I don't think he's going to get 6. I think he actually said 6 after we signed Araujo.
Well, Araujo came before he came in, remember? So if he said 6, since he came back, it would be 6 on top of.
No, exactly. And obviously, since then, we've signed 1 player. So I'm at the stage, I think absolute bare minimum, we need 4. I'm a bit surprised that I read that a centre back was kind of priority, and obviously we've been kind of heavily linked to the boy for Bodo. I would like, as out of the names that's been mentioned, the one that I like the look of the most is the boy Seager. I'd like to get him in, but again, I just don't hold out any hope at all. I think the window shuts at 11 o'clock up here. I think it's 7 o'clock down south and 11 o'clock up here. So I think that 4 hours is where we'll be linked to half of the Premier League that doesn't get a game on loan, as is so often the case. But no, I think we need 4 as an absolute minimum. And as I say, in terms of actually looking into players and watching YouTube videos, I honestly haven't even bothered. I've just had the live stream out me. I just think, what's the point? The boy Mashwanisi I would take. I think you've quoted 4 million, and I know probably you'd say you wouldn't pay 4 million for a Motherwell player off the back of a good 6 months, but we need players for the here and now. We need players that the guy's proven he can score goals in the league. Sign him, pay the money. The money's there. Sign him. That's the kind of the level that we need to be looking at right now. Normally, we'd be sitting here and we'd be saying, maybe if we can get... I seen chat to a goalkeeper the day. In any other season, you'd say, I get a goalkeeper in because Schmeichel will be away in the summer and we've got a goalkeeper and we can bed him in for the qualifiers. It never happens because we forward plan, but the actual club itself doesn't. And when I seen the chat to the goalkeeper the day, I'm like, it's just took us a year to replace Kyogo, and that's after we failed to replace him with Kyogo. So any notion that we are not going to whatever qualifiers we're playing in the fucking Intertotal Cup at this rate, with anybody bar Sinisalo and goals or Schmeichel having signed an extension is just unthinkable to me. So
we've got Ross Doohan. It's be fine.
Aye, but no, I think we need 4 in terms of names. I'd take them all, as James says, but I think we need an absolute bare minimum of 4. But I think we'll get probably 2, possibly 3 at the most.
I think 3 would be well more than we're going to get. I think generally 2 will be our limit. All the names, I was just thinking as we're talking there as well. You know, if we take Casper Ho as the next striker, you bring in Maswinishi as you guys say the right winger who could cut in. I'm thinking now off the top of my head, the kind of Samaras come Maeda, Abada can kind of inside forward, whatever way you want to describe it. If we can get those 2 in, what about your boy, the guy playing in Germany, Lawrence, the centre back? He looked absolutely fucking excellent, big tall guy. So he was. You look at those 3, and then you look at Nico Seeger and your other boy Felix Horn Maya. Now that's what how many is that? 5. You're looking at 4 for Maswinishi. You're looking at 6 for Ho. You're looking at 2.5. I think it was
4 for Maya.
4 for Maya. Is it? You're looking at maybe 2.5. I think it was for Seeger. Spitballing, are we talking maybe about 15, 16, 17 million for all those collectively? You could arguably sell Engels, Bernardo, and Hatate and make all that back and then some, and then instantly fix 4 positions in the squad easily. And I
I
know
don't
it's
think
not
that's
Football
fair in
Manager, but
Engels. I don't think that's fair in Engels. I think Engels is
possibly
a lot.
not. But if you've got two midfielders coming in, I think you need to make a little bit of space. But yeah, I think it's not Football Manager. I know it's not going to work this way. I know Celtic aren't going to sign 5 or 6 players, but fuck me. See if we got all that done, plus obviously the 2 loan deals that we've got in already so far. See if we got all this done 3 weeks ago over the course of the first 2 weeks of the window. We think of the difference we'd be in.
Aye.
But you know, like this season's been that. It's been if Brendan Rodgers hadn't decided to play Donovan and Dane Murray in the back four against Hearts in the first Tynecastle game, if we had kept Martin O'Neill for the Hearts game at Celtic Park, yeah, if these two things hadn't happened, we wouldn't be 6 points behind Hearts now.
No, we wouldn't be.
That's and
This
I think that I can't remember what I was going to say there, man. That's just pure age kicking in. You're even better calling me old, James.
I think it's similar to the kind of COVID season in that respect, where it's just an accumulation of things that have led to this point. And I always say that our board, like you said earlier, if Rangers were in our position and Celtic died, then they would have buried us. They would have absolutely had their horns in our throat and finished us off. We wouldn't be in sight. But we didn't. We kind of right. We'll rein it in a wee bit. We've done it with the Ronnie Dyla years, which perhaps a wee bit more understandable at the time. But I've always said our board's ambition doesn't exist outside Glasgow. It's when people talk about ambitions in Europe, our board doesn't have ambitions in Scotland. Our board's ambition is Glasgow. As long as we are a nod ahead of Rangers, that's where they want to be. And then you've been caught out as a put it on the forums. You've got a team in Hearts who were at death's door a few years ago, but they've had fresh investment, fresh ideas, and modern thinking. They're now top of the league in signing players based off analytics that are hitting the ground running, and they'll either keep them and win things or they'll sell them on for a few quid. You've got Rangers who did die, made their way back up through the divisions, now sit above us with fresh investment, modern ideas, and actually willing to make changes when they're required. And then you've got Celtic sitting in third place, who we've had major success through the years, obviously, when Rangers haven't been here and when they've been here. We've then decided to kind of coast on that. We've made no progress at all in Europe. We're fighting amongst us. Well, we're not fighting amongst ourselves. We're fighting with the board. I think we're all pretty much united within the support in that regard. But you've still got the board, for what we've heard, are essentially sitting there having a back patting session with the guts of £100 million in the bank, whilst the club sits third. And we're now in the 27th of January, and there still doesn't appear to be any appetite to make any improvements whatsoever. But we're sitting here saying 25 million, 15 million home, that's when you show these players. We know that isn't going to happen. We know we're going to be sitting here next week talking about a couple of players on loan and maybe one permanent. If we're sitting here next week with the players mentioned signed up, I will be very, very surprised and still complaining that it should have been done earlier, it should have been left so long. But while these guys are in situ, and I know I'm just getting off in a mad rage here, but while these guys are in situ, it isn't going to change. And it's like, I know people have a go at Michael Nicholson. Absolutely, Michael Nicholson shouldn't be here. He shouldn't have that job. He's essentially a very, very, very well paid middleman. But see if you sack Michael Nicholson, it will just be another puppet that takes his place, and we'll find ourselves in the same place in a year's time or 2 years' time having the same conversations. The two things, well, either of two things has to happen where Dermot Desmond either sells up, which seems unlikely, or there is a massive, massive, massive change of heart at the club where Dermot Desmond holds his horns up and says, do you know what? I don't get everything right all the time. I've made a cunt of it for the last while. Everything you've said, you have made sense. What happened at the AGM shouldn't have happened. My son is a cock. He shouldn't have said what he said. And kind of mend bridges. It's never going to happen. But we can replace the people, but without a change of heart, nothing's going to change really.
There's more chance of me being voted Miss Brazil 1972 than any of that happening. And obviously we're going to touch on the collective a bit later on, and so I'll leave what we're going to say about that for there. But everything you said there, James, I'm 100% in agreement. If we were to get those 4 or 5 signings in, right, without being anything, I wouldn't be on Pornhub for a month. That would be it. You'd be on the huddle board the whole time. It won't happen. We all know it won't happen. There's that part of your head. That's the bit that kills you though, because there's that part of your head that goes, you know, it might happen this time. You know, we're like Stockholm syndrome. That's what we've got.
That's it.
Because in our head we're thinking, you know, I know they've not done it for the past 19 times, but this time might be the time that they come through and do what's needed to be done. Like I said, I don't want to make light of anything, but you know, it's like we're PTSD. It's like we're just okay, but we all know deep down that is it because they don't want to spend money because it's a new manager coming in? I think I said this last week. That's an absolute nonsense, because a new manager is going to come in and Kalmak's going to be there, and Engels is probably still going to be there, and Trusty's going to be there. So can the new manager not come in? He can come in and work with these players, but he can't come in and work with Ho or Maya.
Listen, no football manager goes into a new club and gets a clean slate. He says, "I want these 15 players from my starting squad."
Aye.
You take what you've got there, and then you get two or three transfer windows, year and a half, to make your difference, whilst at the same time not failing, and then building something, and you get your 2 or 3 years out of a manager, and the cycle goes through. James, you mentioned something there about how, you know, in 2 years' time we'll be around about the same bit again. I've said that every 2 or 3 years for the last, as James says as well, the last 19. That's not me being Nostradamus. That's not me being I told you so or I know it. This is literally a collective of how many years, decades that this continues to happen. And I was going to say thankful, but I'm not thankful of it. Absolutely not. It's getting to the point where nobody can deny it anymore. Like, for years there was always the domestic scene, we're winning trebles, papers over the cracks, masks over it. You know, how can you be pissed off and annoyed when we've just won a treble, invincible season? Well, sorry, but I don't judge us just by beating Dundee United, Motherwell, Hearts, Aberdeen, a bit Park Rangers at the time. I judge us against other European clubs who are fighting to progress in Europe and better themselves on the grander stage. That brings us now to the final point, as you touched on as well, James, is what do we do next? Because it's fine for us three to sit here and have this conversation week after week after week, and I will do this for as long as I possibly can. And there's so many other podcasts and fan media out there that's doing the exact same. But we need to do something as a fan collective that actually changes it, which brings us back to this last point, which is the collective. And James, I'm going to pass it to you because obviously I think a few people would be aware that there is something brewing for next week, I think, for our new meeting, but you have a bit more info on that. So if you're ready, James, I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so the fan collective is got another meeting next week, the 3rd. It's a bit limited for space, but it's the collective has got another meeting in the 3rd. This is the first ever collective meeting we had way back in October. It's something you just said, James, a minute ago. They think they're working. They think they're doing this right. Like our board think the Celtic Supporters Association had a meeting with them, and Nicholson actually said, you know, yeah, everything we're doing is right, except we could maybe communicate that better with the fan base. So they think if they actually spoke to us a bit more, then everything would be fine, which is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. You've got NEDs on our board, non-executive directors, who have been there for 15 and 17 years. NEDs should only be on a board for 5 years because they're supposed to hold the executive to account. A chairman who was once the CEO, that's so bad for corporate governance. So bad. The collective needs to have a single voice. I know we spoke about this offline, but the collective needs to have a single voice. At the last meeting, I spoke about this, and they think they're doing it right because they want it to be more inclusive and not just a single figurehead. But they need a figurehead, the same as Celts for Change had a figurehead. They need a figurehead. We need to get in front of this because this is not going to change. That utopia that you spoke about, James, see if that was going to happen and Dermot Desmond was going to come up and go, yeah, you're right, we'll fuck this, right, we'll fuck this royally, then we could go, all right, fine. But that's not going to happen. He thinks he's right. In fact, I think he's more determined. See, the more we protest, I think the more that makes him more determined to stay this course, so that it doesn't look as if us plebs have forced his hand into making any changes. It's it's baffling, but what do we do next as a collective? We had a vote on our CSC about boycotting games, coming in late, but and it was actually a lot more unanimous than I thought it was going to be. It was something like 74 or 75% of our club actually voted for a boycott, and but it won't happen because what will happen is we'll say, yeah, we'll have a boycott, and it'll be all out there that we're going to do this, and we'll still sell a massive proportion of tickets, and all the board will then say is it's a noisy minority that's making all this noise about this. It's a noisy minority. They'll blame the ultras, both the boys and the Green Brigade. It's a noisy minority, and they'll just force their way through everything. I kind of feel the way you feel about Celtic. I feel that as well. But I'm kind of feeling that about the collective. I don't know what we're going to do. Boycott. What's next? Do we know? Buy season tickets next year?
Is this? I don't know how much detail you would have on it. Maybe not until next week, obviously. Is there a topic for the meeting? Is there like a reason for it? Or is it just we need to talk again, guys?
It's an end. We've not had an agenda through yet, but it'll be because it's the end of the transfer window.
Yeah.
Because just see, at Nancy we had a meeting and it was about getting rid of Nancy to be getting rid of Nancy, and that was when a lot of it was after the it wasn't the Hun game, it was the Dundee United game or the Motherwell game. It was after the Motherwell game we had a poll in this collective about boycotts, going in late, leaving early, all these kind of things. We put all the questions to our membership in our CSC, and then he gets sacked. So the Motherwell game, then it was the Hun game, then he gets sacked, and so it kind of right, okay, we'll put it on hold because Martin O'Neill is coming back, so we want to support him. There's not a penny more campaign is a joke. You know, see when you're walking around Celtic Park, all the pie stalls are queued out the whole game. Not a penny more isn't working. It's not working. Although I did hear that the latest range of merchandise is down 73% in what they thought it was going to be.
I'm happy to hear that all day long. A couple of points I want to kind of touch on. I think we all three of us would agree to the point. I think younger James made the point as well that it needs a figurehead. I believe at the time when it first got announced about the collective, they were looking to have 12 people on the board doing 12 different various things, but there's now like 25 or so.
Yeah, so they originally called it a steering committee.
A steering committee, yeah.
And then what they did was they put other people into the steering committee. So there's a steering committee, and then there's like separate sub committees that feed into the steering committee, and it's that whole, and that's kind of what I was trying to say. It's how they feel it should be done, or how we feel it should be done. There's no one person to be picked at, but there is people there that have got their responsibilities and their roles. A figurehead's what's needed. I feel.
Yeah, I think you're right. From an outside point of view, and I see enough, like the questionnaire that you were alluding to there as well. I've seen that questionnaire through the form. We got that linked into the form, and everybody had a wee read of it as well and got to have to say. But I think the buses and the supporter groups, I think you guys would have a stronger voice than our online message board, mind you. But for me, there needs to be not so much accountability, but if you're talking about 25 people in that group with various subgroups, it doesn't look like a lot is happening. Does it need all those various subgroups for them to turn and say, "Did you spend your money at the superstore?" I think that's quite an easy thing to ask fans to do, but I think it definitely needs a figurehead. And I think, not that Paul John Dykes would ever listen to this podcast, but I remember him saying early on in it that he didn't want to be a figurehead as such. He wanted to stand by, and he didn't want it to be about him. And I think maybe there's a few groups within it that, even the Green Brigade, who have a couple of members on it as well. I think a few of these groups are probably thinking, no, we should stand back so it doesn't look like it's about us. But I think somebody who is prominent, that I'll use the name of Paul John Dykes to make it about him, to galvanise it. And if it can't be a Paul John Dykes because he's concerned about how his reputation, because he knows himself that he's hot and cold with people. Some people love him, some people hate him, which is absolutely fine. I think he's generally okay. I've agreed with quite a lot of stuff that I hear him saying, especially the last few months. But maybe we need to go out and get somebody. Again, I'm going to use a name, and I know it's not going to be this name, but a John Hartson, an ex-footballer who would be on the fan side. I mean, there's no point obviously asking Neil Lennon for a number of reasons, if not for the fact that obviously he's still in football employment. But if you could find somebody who could be the voice of the group, the figurehead, the person who can go on camera, because it almost feels like it's a group in the shadows, popping the head up when the window looks a bit shit, going to no spend money on the club anymore, going to do this. They're not going to get the fans collecting together behind them. I think they need that figurehead that the majority of fans can say, okay, Sutton, you're the man who speaks the same noise that I'm speaking. I'm behind you, sort of idea.
Yeah, that's right. It needs to be somebody. The most common my CSC has got 200 plus members. Not obviously not everybody a season ticket holder, not everybody goes to every game, but we've got 200 plus members, and so it's quite a large CSC. And the most common question I get in our group chat about the collective is, what are they doing next? Because it's, and see if there was a figurehead that was saying, maybe a wee bit active in social media, saying, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what we're doing, this is what we think. But it's very collaborative, and I understand that. I understand why it's like that, but I don't think it's. And the really annoying thing is that the board. See if the board had come out and made 3 signings right at the start of this window, the collective would have disappeared, because everybody would have been happy. Everybody would have been happy. 3 big signings, everybody, and that's how fickle we are as fans. They five signings get made over this weekend. This week that we're just speaking about. They 5 signings get made, and there'll be next to nobody at the collective meeting in next week, because
I think there might be a feeling that even if we were to go that extreme to get those 4 or 5 players in this coming week, sort of thing, I think it's far enough gone that it's not going to be quite that way. I agree with you. If we'd done all this work in the first 2 weeks of January, I think that would be one hell of a symbol from the club to say, look, we are going to do this properly now. We realise we fucked up. They don't even need to come out and admit they fucked up. They just need to do the fucking job properly. But James, I'll bring you back in a minute. This goes back to what we were doing a few times already, this podcast, the permutations, the what ifs. If my granny had balls, if we do this, they're living in the hope of, could they be different the next time? They could always fix this quietly by just going away and just doing the things that need to be done, and then announce them all. And all of a sudden, if they made 5 signings at the start of January, the first 2 weeks in preparation for that Hearts game, I wouldn't say the collective goes away completely, but it shuts a lot of people up. And we
But
all
that,
then have to say, right, we'll wait until summertime because we need
yeah,
to give this a chance to play out now.
but the collective is very fragile. Right, the collective is fragile. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean, there's people that have got different views, and people that feel very strongly are very militant, and people that are there because um, they don't like what's happening right now. All of a sudden, if they bought these players here, and Martin O'Neill was, because we all love Martin O'Neill, then enough of the collective would be saying, you know what, let's take a breath until the summer and see what happens in the summer. So all of a sudden, then it's another 4 months or nothing with the collective. So the collective would kind of, I'm not saying it would go away to nothing. Maybe I was wrong when I said that, but it would become less relevant. And then you get to the summer and they bring in Roberto Martinez. That's just a name that came into my head. They bring in Roberto Martinez and he's got these players and then there's a great feeling about the place again, or they bring Ange Postecoglou back and there's a great feeling about the place and everybody's and do you know what I mean? And it's just that's how easy we, and I'm including myself in that, as a fan base, we're so easily manipulated. He's a couple of wee shiny players, and we're all like, yeah, it's excellent. We've got Masonisi, and we've got the boy Faye, we've got Ho, and we've got Myra, and we've got, yeah, that's.
But that's how easy it should be.
That's how easy it should be, but I'm no clever and I'm no ability there, so obviously I can't speak.
You can't. No, you cannot. Who is clever and maybe not a billionaire, but a millionaire is other James. Your opinion on the collective overall, I say, or where do you think they should go next? Like, what would be your next step here?
Honestly, I don't know because, as I say, I honestly struggle to see how anything changes at Celtic without the two things that we spoke about earlier, either Desmond selling up or having a massive change of heart. They both seem as likely as each other, which is massively unlikely. But in terms of the collective, I think it's probably lost a wee bit of momentum if I'm being honest about it. I think when it came out, obviously after the summer, obviously we were with the Endless Celts boys at that point as well and signed up to the letter on was it the 7 original questions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the open letter that had all the signatories. Totally off of that. But then the kind of protest started, the late entry, the protest outside the stadium, which I'm absolutely all for. I think there has to be a visual form of protest so that the board can see the numbers that are unhappy and looking for change. But then within that, even within the collective at that point, people saying, well, I'm going to get in time for kick-off and support the team. And I appreciate that. And you're absolutely within your rights to do it. But when that kind of kicks in, that's when the momentum starts to kind of drain away from it. And if I'm being honest, I think the Green Brigade stuff with the Falkirk game has probably played a big part in it as well. As I say, look, I know you'll get people that really don't like the Green Brigade, have got no time for them at all, and you'll get people that are very, very pro Green Brigade and agree with everything they do. As we were kind of talking about before we started here, I'm looking at a case by case basis with the Green Brigade. I think they do some brilliant stuff, and I think they do some stupid stuff. But I think I've said it on here before. I think within the stadium, the Green Brigade at one point a few years ago would have had the universal backing of the stadium. I think at best that's probably 50-50 now, at best, because the amount of times that you'll hear people saying stuff about the Green Brigade or whatever it will be once a certain song starts or whatever it is. And I think when the collective went so heavy in support of the Green Brigade, which I agree with, by the way, but I think when that happened, I think that'll have probably turned people off. And you've seen it on Twitter, you read it in the forums that it was essentially just a Green Brigade driven thing, the collective, which I think is wrong, but I think that people have had that opinion, which I think would have then also lost it some momentum. But recently, it's just been statements, to be honest. It's just been kind of statements every couple of weeks, and look, they make good reading and they make perfect sense, but they're not going to take any notice. It's not going to change anything. And I think that is where the collective is just now, is what can you do? I mean, you talk about a boycott, fine. But then the next thing after that would be people geeing up season books. But the money, the money aspect to it, isn't the issue. Like we were kind of saying before we started as well, that in the 90s, money was the issue and the club was going to fold. But we kind of seen it in a much smaller scale through the Ronnie Dyler years when folk did gear up their season books and the attendances weren't great and we had the banners up. All the days they just kind of tighten the purse strings a wee bit more and they bring it in. So is that really going to make that much of a difference? Personally, I don't think so. And then you've also got the aspect of will people gear up their season books? Personally, I'm not at that stage yet.
Me either.
Everybody's got their own reasons for going. It's not just a case of the fit was brilliant to watch, so I'm going on Saturday. The fit has been pretty turgid to watch all year, and it's always been good crowds. So there is that aspect to it. So honestly, it's all kind of pretty helpless for me now. As I say, like, that's why I was referencing the Michael Nicholson thing. He takes a lot of flack,
Aye.
absolutely rightly so. But he isn't the one we should be getting it. As I say, you've had Peter Lobel before him. He took the flack, went away, no really went away, and then he came back. And then you've got again his understudy is now the chairman, much as his understudy became the CEO. It's just it's essentially the same person replacing the person that exits.
You
So
mean like Jota replaces Jota and Keogh might replace Keogh?
not exactly, but that is it though. I mean, you had the Brian Wilson coming out and asking for unity, and you've had Callum McGregor also calling for unity. And when a board member asks for unity, what they mean when they say unity is going to stop shouting at us. I see everything that's happened that you've all been proved right about. Just going to forget about that, and we'll start afresh for this point. And it's like, well, there's too much water under that bridge now. Like, these things need to be owned. There has to be change. There has to be structural change. There has to be people losing their jobs, but it's not going to happen. And that's where, like, I must admit that did piss me off a wee bit as well when I read McGregor's comments. He calls for unity. I don't know, but you're calling for unity, and then the next breath asking for quality to come into the team. You're like, that's what we're asking for. Like, so when you're talking about unity, talk to your bosses. Go and chap the chairman's door. Go and talk to the boardroom. You're the club captain. I get that isn't your exact remit, but the calls for unity. If we want the same thing as the captain, the people that aren't delivering what we want is in the boardroom. So they're the ones that lack the unity. So they're the ones that need to be brought into the fold and tell us what's happening and all the rest of it. But it doesn't happen. The last time we heard for apparently mute CEO, he was giving his full backing to a manager that's been sacked however many weeks ago, and we were looking forward to a prosperous January. Apparently, the extent of that January for Wilfred Nancy was signing Bournemouth's third choice right back for a guy that didn't play a right back. So somebody needs to explain the logic to that to me as well, if that was a Wilfred Nancy signing. But the change at the club isn't going to come for the supporters, it's going to come for the boardroom. And the boardroom has zero appetite for change. And obviously, as we've seen through pretty much everything they've said, for the Brendan Rodgers statement to the AGM. And as I said before, the one that I'll always go back to was the Brendan Rodgers statement for Dermot Desmond. What has failed recently has not been the club's modular structure, but one man's desire for what was it? One man's for self-preservation. That will be on this board's gravestone. Those words will be the lasting legacy of this board and everything that's happened since. And I get that people, again, I'm going off on tangents here, and I get that people don't like Brendan Rodgers or whatever, but never has a guy saying nothing said so much. Like he must be just sitting smoking a cigar, watching everything that's happened, going, I tell you, Shin Yamada is away out and loan to the team 15th in the German second division. Inamura's been shipped out back and loan to a team in Japan. And these are the guys that we were signed. These are the club signings that Brendan Rodgers spoke about, and Michael Nicholson shrugged his shoulders at. So can we get an answer to that yet? Do you know what I mean? And it's like when the collective came out at the last meeting, and it was there's questions that need answers. I said it at the time. It's not the questions that need answers. It's the board's answers that need questioned. It's when they're coming out and telling us that everything's fine, it's working to design. Like, is this the plan? Is the plan to be the third best team in Scotland? Is the plan? I always used to say that Celtic's transfer policy was throw enough shit and see what sticks. You get a Wanyama, you get a Van Dijk, you get a Matt O'Reilly, you get a Dembele, you get these players. But at this point, we've stopped throwing the shit. And even when we were doing that, you had your look at the squad now. The squad is literally full of them. You could probably put Yang in there, albeit he's been our best player this season, probably. But it's just littered with squad players. Barry Quisha, 5 million. A guy that when he signed, we all looked at it and went, that's not going to work in Scotland. Wilfred Nancy is the prime example. We all sat on this podcast when Wilfred Nancy was only a rumour. He wasn't appointed, and we went, you can let that guy pick 11 players that he wants within, obviously, budget. That formation won't work in Scotland. Lo and behold, it didn't work in Scotland, but we still done it regardless. And it's just, I don't even know what the question was. It collective, and I've ended up Wilfred Nancy, but it's just a total lack of planning, foresight, anything at all at boardroom level. We sit. Does anybody think we've even thought about who the next manager's going to be? Are we just going to get to the end of the season, then go Robbie Keane? He's Irish. We'll take him. That is what I think is going to happen. As I said to you, I've stuck a tenner on Robbie Keane as soon as the market's open. Basically, I've got him at 15-1. But I think that is just how narrow and short-sighted. It'll either be we'll go back with the begging bowl to Ange, as we done with Brendan Rodgers, promising him it's going to be different, and it won't be, or we'll go for a Robbie Keane type, which will be a Dermot Desmond, obviously Dermot Desmond appointment. But
it's just 100% James going to be
total lack of planning, foresight, modernisation, just a total lack of everything at boardroom level. And until there's that appetite for change, I don't think anything is going to change.
Roberto Martinez, you heard it here first.
They're not that gals. They won't back Roberto Martinez enough, and Roberto Martinez will know that the only way he gets connected to us is the Sean Maloney thing, which I get, but I don't think he comes, and I don't think Ange comes back because I don't think Ange will suffer it again. I think he left knowing that this was the shit that we were dealing with. I don't think he comes back.
Also though, that, and maybe I'm just like hoping, right, that see if it was going to be Robbie Keane, it would have been now. They would have just got him in.
But he's still in Europe as well, remember, and going for his second title in Hungary. I think it's an easy thing to bring O'Neill back in, have that discussion with Keane, and it'll be generally, okay, 100%, I can't say 100%, but I reckon 90-95% is Robbie Keane.
You've just ruined my week. Right? I thought my week was ruined on Sunday. You've just ruined my week, right? Because I don't want Robbie Keane.
I'll tell you something, right? I'll tell you something, and this is what we keep doing, and we've done it a few times so far tonight. See if we get Robbie Keane in, but we spend the next 5 months getting a director of football in, getting 5-6 new coaches in, getting 5-6 new players in, lining up 3-4 players for the first 2 weeks in the window. If we get a proper recruitment team in and get actual scouts employed by the club, see if we do that, Robbie Keane being the manager wouldn't be an issue.
Going to stop talking about it.
But we're not going to do that.
This is the Stockholm syndrome kicking in again. This is us get four players in for fucking Monday night, and we've got a full new coaching staff and all these players lined up for the summer.
Aye. Just stop talking, man. That's I'm gone.
I swore to myself I was not going to do a Gavin and have this drag out longer than an hour, but as we're now approaching an hour and 25 minutes almost, so we will try to wrap it up. We do have a game coming up in 2 days' time, is it? Thursday, yeah.
Yeah,
Utrecht. Now, keep it kind of short. We'll try and wrap it up quickly. The question to both of you is, well, 2 questions. Do you think we can beat Utrecht with what we've got? We have to go with what we've got. And do you, how do I word this, want us to beat them? As in, do you want to see us progress?
Can I go first?
Absolutely.
Barcast masterclass.
Aye.
Right? And no, I don't want us to progress. Because see if we progress, and I'm sorry, I've never want Celtic not to win, right? But see if we progress, the away leg of the next phase is 3 days before Ibrox.
Yeah. which is the really sad thing that
Yeah,
this is what it's got to, is that we actually rather not be in Europe because it's a distraction and an issue that we just can't deal with right now,
yes, I
which
totally.
is a crying shame.
Yes, 100%. I want us to compete in Europe. I want us to be a team in Europe. Paul Tidsdale didn't think we were in the top. He didn't think we were a top 100 team in Europe, right? He didn't think that, and we are. I want us to be that. But see, this season, we go to Ibrox 3 days after an away game to Porto, and what do you think is going to happen to us at Ibrox?
Yeah. Other James 1. Shall we say for the last time your opinion on the game coming up?
I want us to win. I think with the 4 signings and new coaching staff that we're getting that we spoke about tonight, I think we're still on for the treble. No, I do. I want us to win. Like, I understand the thinking, but I just can't bring myself to pay my money and then go and sit and hope we get bet. So no, I hope we win. And aye, that's it. Like you say, like, I think I'm on record here as saying as soon as the summer transfer window shut, I think we should have focused everything on the league and maybe played that kind of rotated side in Europe. But this kind of, I don't really see the point in that now, because if we do that now, you're essentially throwing last Thursday in the bin, you're throwing the Feyenoord performance in the bin, which I think is pretty unfair. So I would go for it. Go to obviously try and win, get through, and see what it takes us. And look, I mean, I know we're kind of talking about, like you're saying, going to the game before Ibrox. It's happened before, but we should be used to it. We need to kind of put our big boy pants on. We've already lost one cup this year. Not that I'm saying we're going to win the Europa League, but nah, I think we've got to put our big boy pants on and go into it and just win, really, aye. And then we'll take it for there.
Okay, very, very quickly, the very last thing I'll ask before it gets to an hour and 30. Just something sprung into my head. Would you do a Spurs? Would you
win it?
Would you go all the opposite way of basically what we were just saying? Would you go all into the Europa League, knowing that you get Champions League out of it, and accept that the domestic scene's done for the season?
So, just to clarify, you've had us no signing anybody, signing everybody, slaughtering everything, and then everything's going to get better in the next 6 months. We'll finish third in Scotland, but win the Europa League and get into the Champions League. Absolutely, I like that thing. Can get behind that.
I'm on board.
I think, James, this is where you say McGinty head trauma.
That's it. Head trauma, I must admit, head trauma nearly kicked in earlier. You said, what was it you said? DOGSO stands for not a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Even as it's coming out, I was like, where does the D come from? I was like,
denial of a goal scoring opportunity.
That's it indeed. Okay, guys, let's wrap it up there. It has been quite a good evening. I've enjoyed it. We haven't fixed the world. The collective, I think, is a big thing. It does need leadership. It needs unity. But overall, guys, Tattoo James, have you enjoyed tonight?
As always, or as my second one, yeah, it was great. Thanks.
And smaller, younger, headphones, James.
Aye, as we often say, it is a weekly therapy session, even more so during transfer windows. So, aye, it's good to get a good moan out instead of just typing it on the forums and all the rest of it.
It has indeed. Right, guys, thank you in the comments. It was a bit of a slow start, a bit of technical issues in the first 20 minutes or so. We were a bit delayed. Thank you all for taking part. Thank you all for being here. Some of the comments have been absolutely fantastic. And we'll see you all again next week. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail.